Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 71 of the North Star podcast. Today, our topic will be for busy moms. So if you're not a busy mom, then shut off the podcast.
I like that.
I'm just kidding.
I like that.
What is for busy moms that don't shut off the podcast? We're going to be just talking about, I think the reason we're doing this topic is because for myself, I work with a lot of moms that have a hard time navigating their time, navigating, they're like prioritizing themselves. I think a lot of times what tends to happen is parents in general, when they have kids, obviously their time changes.
Exactly.
And I think for us as trainers, and for someone who, I'm not a parent, so I'm not speaking from a parent view, but I am speaking from experience working with parents, hearing many different stories, many different ways of adapting and changing things to try to make it a little bit easier for them. I think this episode will really be good for that. So, yeah.
And me personally, I hear a lot of women and moms, typically after like the 35, 45 range, they're saying that, hey, I'm trying everything, but I'm not losing fat. So this is also for you guys, if hopefully you didn't cut the podcast off early and short, because the problem's not usually effort. There's a lot of different things, especially for women. There's a lot of hormonal stuff. There's a lot of physiological stuff that's working around, as well as the psychological stuff that just adds up. And usually there's something hidden in the picture, and it's about figuring out that deal in the haystack, and getting the stuff to work for you. So, yeah. So like we mentioned, there's a lot of hormonal shifts that happen, especially with women after having kids and all that. So biggest thing is probably the stress, right guys? I think stress is one of the biggest things. Like you said, not prioritizing yourself, but always making sure that kids are doing this. Your life kind of flips upside down is what I hear a lot from moms, is when they have kids, is that they have to get their kids to do this. All the meal prep for their kids, and then trying to make themselves also eat well and go to the gym and manage all that stuff. It all becomes very difficult to navigate. So
one thing too, like when you look at it, sleep as well. Like sleep is a huge one as well, right? At the end of the day, like when we're looking at decision making, if your sleep is lacking, and obviously when you have a newborn or a baby or multiple kids around the same age, it sometimes gets a little bit challenging to prioritize that sleep and get that sleep schedule back on track. So, realizing that though, and I think sometimes we tend to not always understand why we're making choices of what we're making, and sometimes not having enough energy, not having enough sleep. Like they've shown that if you don't have enough sleep, your decision making becomes a lot harder, right?
Yeah.
So if so if you're more aware of it, like, okay, I know that I haven't had a lot of sleep. My decision making on eating more healthier, going to the gym, all those things are going to be a lot harder. But if you already have that awareness going into it, I have found a lot of people to not always push past it, but make it a little bit easier for themselves and not be so hard on themselves as well, right? So asking yourself that question too. What period of time are you with your children? Is it, maybe your kid's sick, right? And that's going to be, very late nights, very early mornings, very interrupted sleep. So being aware of that and asking yourself, what can I do in this moment with this period of time? Because it's not going to be forever. Yeah. Right.
So kind of planning, would you say planning then? And
kind of like pre-planning, but also like giving yourself grace on the aspect that it's not going to be perfect like it is when you didn't have kids or when you were in your 20s, right? So I think that's going to be a really big thing for our awareness piece and just taking that into this next phase as well, right?
Yeah, and I know going into like the actual like physiological side, but without sleep, is that you end up, your hunger hormones just spike up, so your adrenaline's going up, and that's going to cause you to end up eating more because you're lacking that energy, and then you're eating more, and the stress compiled on top of that, it makes it a lot more harder. And if you're not adding, like if you don't have a baseline, if you don't have those sustainable habits of understanding, like, this is my routine, I'm going to eat this time, I'm going to eat these specific meals, and you're not hitting your protein, and then you end up going to comfort food, your food noise is shooting up. There's a lot more hidden stuff that goes behind the scenes that you're not aware of that usually ends up, I guess, unraveling and making it much more harder to lose those stubborn 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 15 pounds, whatever your goal is or wherever you're at currently. So,
yeah, and I think like looking at this at the end of the day, we talked about hormones and shifting too, but also too asking yourself, like, what did it look like when you were in your 20s versus what does it look like now?
Yeah.
Most people, when they're in their 30s or early 40s, they maybe have a career now that they've been doing for a while. You know, maybe you sit more, maybe you commute more, maybe you are not just doing the same things that you were doing before in your 20s, right? So asking yourself, like, I even asked myself when I played, like this is kind of a similar situation, but I looked at like when I played high level baseball, I was playing baseball every single day, twice a day. Like obviously my activity was a lot higher than it is now. I'm still active, but I'm 100% is not as active as I was before, right? So I also have to understand and make those adjustments and be aware of that
whether that's
well.
with your food and you need to get more sleep and prioritizing your recovery. That's another thing as well. I find that sometimes the stress really compiles, and there's a difference between the stress of working out, but obviously, like I know we chat about this, if you are, for example, the rare occasion and you're getting in like, let's say 2 workouts and you're just doing like high intensity workouts all the time and you're very like the really high go-getter person and you're trying to manage it all, but you're not seeing it and you're constantly feeling inflamed, not feeling good. That's another thing too. It's just managing too much stress as well, trying to, you know, ease the gas pedal. Just like,
I'm just picking like maybe 1 or 2 things, right? Instead of, you know, working always on like nutrition, fitness, like strength training, cardio, walking, making sure you do recovery, maybe like all those things, maybe pick 1 or 2 things in that like short period of time. Like I said, it's temporary, right? You're not always gonna, let's say your child's not always gonna be 1 year old, right? And then your child is, you know, gonna obviously get older and, you know, things are going to shift, you know, then you're going to have to navigate how to shift that as well, right? So there's always little things, but I always say try to pick something that you feel is going to be sustainable enough where it's still moving the needle forward. I think a lot of times people think that they need to have everything figured out and everything all in one piece all at once. But even if you go for a short period of time, just moving the needle forward, maybe that's just 1 workout a week. Maybe that's what it is, but it's still moving the needle forward, even though it might not feel like a massive big change, but you're still going in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Right. And it's when you quit, it's when you stop doing everything. It's when you're like, I don't care about what I eat. You just eat whatever because what you're just like, I just give up. That's when you're actually going the other way. And that's when you'll stop seeing progress. But if you just go in and be like, well, you know what, I'm just going to try to make sure I have enough fruits and veggies, and I'm going to try to work out 1 or 2 times a week. That is my goal. That's moving the needle way more forward, and it's probably going to be way less overwhelming as well.
Absolutely. So, 100% agree. And yeah, it helps, like you said, but if you're not moving the needle forward, you end up losing. For example, like if you get those 2 workouts in, you're going to preserve your muscle mass. You can grow some more muscle. If you're pushing yourself hard, you're recovering well. Versus a big thing, especially with, I know women, is like, when it comes to like a lot of these beliefs are getting shifted now, but you always hear it every once in a while. There's like not eating carbs or doing cardio to lose weight, not strength training, not prioritizing your muscle preservation and building more muscle. I think that's a huge thing, and we've always like talked about protein as well. If you're not eating enough protein, moving the needle forward. Okay, I didn't work out today. How can I add a little bit more protein? Protein ends up burning more metabolic energy anyway, so you end up using more energy and you end up actually helping yourself from putting on stubborn weight, and that's another big thing as well. So I would say getting some sort of strength training instead of fully prioritizing. Now if you don't like it and you actually enjoy cardio or you enjoy just going for your walk a day, that's perfectly fine. If you enjoy it and you stick to it, you're going to end up moving the needle forward too.
Well, and that's the thing, is like kind of going back, is like doing something that you enjoy, right? Like instead of it being where the more that you make something feel like a chore, the harder it's going to be, especially in this state, right? Because like we had mentioned, it's called decision fatigue. Like you can only make so many decisions on lack of energy or lack of sleep before you're just like, I just want to give up.
Yeah, it's like a meter. I see it like it just already down so low.
Everyone has a different meter. Everyone has a different threshold. So there's not like I can't say like you're better than this person. Like everyone has different thresholds. But I think at the end of the day, if you can tell yourself and give yourself that flexibility and understand that it's not always going to be perfect, then you're going to move the needle forward more. I do want to shift a little bit because you had mentioned hormones, and I think this is a big thing that a lot of individuals look past, but I also think sometimes becoming healthier sometimes also really helps with your hormones too, right? I think sometimes people are quick to go to hormones right away, and I'm not saying that's, that's what everyone does, but a lot of people I see, it's like, it's my hormones because
Yes.
I'm not getting towards my goals. Yes, there could be a huge, obviously, role in that, 100%, I'm not taking that away, but also to what habits or how long have you actually been consistent to be able to see those results? And if you still feel like after that you are not seeing the results you need, that's where something like hormone replacement therapy or HRT could be helpful. I know a few female clients that I work with are on HRT. They have seen amazing results and feel a lot better. But again, make sure you have some sort of habits and start to understand like what are the missing pieces before, and then also using that as something that can help too.
I have clients who've had frozen shoulder, which is one of their biggest things after childbirth, and they've mentioned to me that they've noticed a big improvement on being able to actually see results because they've been through so many years of just not having results, being demotivated to enter the gym, to make that actual commitment, to push the needle forward because of stuff like this. And that's where 100%, and they're not seeing it as a crutch, for example, because it makes them stronger, and when they're stronger mentally, they're gonna come to the gym stronger too. So much stuff, like I would say whenever you're training someone, like if you go into the gym and you're about to lift a weight and you say, I got this, and I'm just gonna keep on going, you're gonna end up doing a lot more reps, feeling smoother, you're gonna be feeling a lot more better than if you're going to it with a negative mindset saying, no, I can't do this. I'm this, I'm a failure, I can't do this, I can't push this thing, and you limit yourself. There's a huge thing with that, so. What about dieting history? What do you think about like women with chronic diet history and doing extreme cuts? I've had a client before she came to me for nutrition coaching where it took a little while to adapt. She was eating, goddamn, 1,000 and like literally 1,010 calories. And that was her just consistent. She had a coach just having her doing 1,010 calories, 0 carbs, super restrictive. She had PCOS and just felt miserable and just did not see her stubborn weight change. I told her about what metabolic adaptation is and basically nutritional periodization, about being able to restore those calories, go back to a fundamental, like you talked about, having those fundamentals are set. Are you eating veggies? Can this be added into your diet? That's a huge thing. Focusing on small stuff, fibers, just shifting the needle slowly. You probably had a lot of experience yourself, right? Where you had a client, did you have you had?
Yeah, like I've worked with every kind of walks of life at this point. I tend to see females, and this is not like me saying this in the aspect of like picking on someone, but I just tend to see females tend to eat lower calories. They tend to undereat. Like
and they underestimate too. That's another thing I've seen as well.
I just tend to see females tend to undereat in general. Right. Like that's just a very common thing that I tend to see. Either undereating calories or undereating protein. Doesn't mean that isn't impossible to reverse. It's just going to take some time and planning because. You know, if you're only used to eating 20 to 30 grams of protein and now you have to hit 100, well, that's a big jump. Absolutely. Right? Especially if you've been doing that for a long time. And that's kind of what you're saying about, you know, you're eating a certain amount of calories for a long period of time. You don't switch anything. A lot of times people think you have to actually go lower. Sometimes you should go higher in calories to start to see that change again, because you can only eat so little calories until it just doesn't become sustainable.
And then your decision fatigue is going all off the roof because it's just exactly you said, not sustainable, is you're not fueling yourself. And it's,
and it's just a lot harder to, you know, obviously at the end of the day to, you know, in this day and age, especially eat like that amount of calories. You know, it's easy to go eat 500 calories, no problem. But if you're only allowed, and when I say in quotation, but if you're only prescribed 1,000 calories, well, you can go eat 500 and 2 chocolate bars.
And the worst thing is if you have kids and you see them eating all that stuff, you're building that more food noise because you see your kids eating all this stuff. I've had people who worked and they're working on a diet and they've done a restricted diet and then they see that they're feeding all the kids, and then what happens, late night cravings hit. It kind of like, it's one of those things that's in the back of their mind and just builds up throughout the whole day, and then they spiral out of control. And then they just go fully out, and then their mindset is just screwed over. They go like, oh, I failed. And then it's just a negative repeating cycle. And I think, especially for women, and it doesn't matter if you're a guy, but if you have kids or as a parent, if you can work on building those sustainable habits and you start eating good, your kids are going to start eating better too. Your pantry is going to be looking a lot better. In your house, you're going to have a lot more healthier foods. It's going to end up actually becoming more of a widespread effect. And that's a really big thing too, because if your kids are eating healthier, you're most likely going to eat healthier too. Having high protein, good snacks on the go is going to be a huge thing, especially if you're a kid who's an athlete, going all over the place. Like we mentioned, there's so many simple snacks you can do that are like 20 grams of protein. They're just easy. You can squish in the day, low calorie. That helps you out quite a bit as well. So that's another thing as well. It's building that plan and having your kids kind of be instilled into that lifestyle without obviously being too toxic about it. Without, you know, if a kid wants to eat like a chocolate bar, let them eat a chocolate bar. Their kids in the day, you don't want them to resent food or build a restrictive thing that kind of can cycle on later down the line. But
yeah, and like playing off of that too, I think when we're looking at building sustainable habits and kind of creating some sort of flexibility, you know, if you're a parent and you're, or if you're a female and you're about to have a kid and, you know, trying to still work out and try to keep those habits going while being pregnant as well. I've seen a lot of success when the baby's born, right? Because you've created a routine, and I'm saying with discretion, of course, right? Like everyone's different, everyone has a different experience with pregnancy, but what I've seen with females that have kept up with some sort of exercise routine, obviously might need to be modified, or have kept with some sort of nutrition protocols when the baby's born, and once life kind of settles a little bit, it's easier for you to get back into it, right? If you know, don't do any of that stuff, not that I'm saying it's impossible, but it's going to be a lot harder because you haven't done it in a long time, so you're kind of restarting again. So if you are someone who has the availability to at least do something while in that stage of being pregnant, I think that is also very valuable as well. So, yeah.
Well, is there anything else you want to close off with? I think we covered the big ones. The hormones, the sleep, the prep in advance, the mindset, the intuitive thinking when it comes to planning your meals and all that stuff. And
yeah, I think just like closing notes would just be like obviously finding something that works for you. You know, if you can, try to strength train. Obviously try to eat your fruits and veggies, your protein, adequate hydration, stress management. Like all those things are like easy for us to say because, you know, we're not in that scenario currently. But what I would say is, you know, picking something that is going to work for you, but also knowing that at this time in your life, it probably won't be perfect. Right? You probably won't be getting 8 hours of sleep. You know, and if you know that and going into it and giving yourself that grace and giving yourself that understanding of it, you'll be in a lot better mindset knowing that and understanding that this is a temporary kind of shift and knowing when to kind of take a step back or take a step forward depending on where you're at. So I think it's just some
regardless, taking a step's going to make you stronger. And I think as a coach too, is being there in those hard times with those clients, like you see it after that phase is over, they've got it, things have settled down, they are just so much more stronger, their adherence is so much more better. And yeah, there's so many tools, right? We have our cookbook if you need more help with gain protein ideas. There's also, I mean, just having a coach, for example, is one thing that can help quite a bit when you don't feel like you're lost and that decision fatigue's too high and you just can't make a decision. If you just need to be told simply, just do this. That can help a lot. I've seen that help and I've helped people myself doing that. So yeah, just use support. That's another thing too. Just use the support, whatever support you can. Don't handle all the decisions on yourself. Don't make yourself too stressed out because then the cycle just gets worse during that phase and it prevents you from getting stronger. So
yeah, and having, you know, like you said, support system, if that's your significant other, if that's your friends, your family, if that's people in your same age demographic, you know, trying to do things together will really help.
For sure,
and moving forward, just like, you know, not being scared to ask questions and doing the due diligence of trying something that works for you and might not work for someone else, right? And being okay with that. I think a lot of times people get stuck thinking, well, my friend did this or this person did that to get like this, but it's, you know, they have a different lifestyle, they have a different situation, they have a different story, they have a different background, and just moving forward from
because you have your own starting point. So work around that. Absolutely.
Sweet. Cool. Well, everyone, thank you so much for listening to episode 71 of the North Star podcast. Hope everyone has a great rest of your day, and we will see you on the next one.
Peace.